Welcome, high school hockey fans, to another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I am your temporary fill-in host, Bill Berg Jr. With me this week are Bill Berg and Dan Bauer. MJ Hammett is having technical difficulties. We'll move right into it this week with our games of the week, starting with Dan, who is at Black River Falls at Chippewa Falls, Menominee.
Yeah, just a really fun game to be at. To me, like a great example of how good girls high school hockey can be in this state. Just two teams that I think were really evenly matched. Just an excellent game from start to finish. Lots of end to end, some pretty goals, overtime. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to be there. For Black River, it ended up being their fifth overtime game of the year. They've been obviously in a lot of those to start the season off, and I was excited to see them because they kind of intrigued me. They've been really close with just about everyone they played this year, and so I mean it was a great game. Uh, Things got off to a good start, and the Chippewa Falls off to the quick start, and they got a goal early in the game from Lindstrom, who was a very impressive freshman um, for the Sabres, and just one of those textbook goals that you teach your players. Riley Biskin got a shot from the point coming in the zone and right off the far pad, rebound right to Lindstrom, crashing from the backside, and just was able to put that basically into an empty net. So really pretty goal to start it off. Black River tied it up in the period and got a goal from one of their defensemen. They have a couple really strong defensemen back there. Cameron Steele is one of them, and then Piper Matheson is the other one. She's a freshman, but Steele got a shot off from the point. And I don't know if Dow didn't see it all the way through. There was quite a bit of traffic, but she kind of looked like she got fooled by it or didn't necessarily see it till the last second. And the game was tied at 1. It was really, like I said, a really good first period. A lot of good end-to-end action, a lot of opportunities. Addie Biskin, who's a senior for CFM, had a really strong period. 3 different times she got from an end-to-end rush, basically right to the doorstep of the goal. But Moore was there for Black River to make the saves and turn her away, and she turned in a really excellent game for them. Second period, the scoring. Moore got a shot from off from the point, and then or there was a shot from the point, and then a rebound right in front of the net, and really no chance for the goaltender. That was Kaya Moore that got that goal. And then the game was tied. McDonald CFM came back and tied the game on a really nice power play late in the second period. Good face-off win by Biskin back to her sister, who moved it over to Ashley Sloop, who made a really nice fake shot and then fed it back to Biskin, and she scored from the right point to tie the game. Lindstrom got a goal to put the CFM back on top in the third period. So that at 3-2, she got a goal from right in tight, rebound right in front of the net, and was able to get that one back in the net. And then the really nice play by Allie Ritter, who stole the puck right at the Sabres blue line, basically kind of took it right off the defenseman's stick and got in basically alone with some pressure and got herself down between the hash marks, and just a really nice snapshot to tie the game at 3-3. Penalty late in the game carried over into the overtime. So we got to start the game in the overtime with CFM with a 4-on-3, or excuse me, that was the end of the first overtime. We went through one overtime, really dominated by Chippewa Falls. Lots of great opportunities. Michaela Hogan after the game said, we had so many great chances, and the difference is Black River converted and we didn't when they got those opportunities. But then heading into the second overtime, so we moved to 3-on-3, but there's a penalty, so it started 4-on-3 and then moved to 3-on-3 on the first whistle. And then with 26 seconds left in the game, kind of an errant pass, a cross ice pass from Chippewa Falls all the way across, and Cameron Steele with a great job of reading the defenseman's eyes and just stepped enough in front of it to get a stick on it, deflected ahead of her, and basically was in all alone from the blue line and nobody, and just patiently attacked Dowd, and with a nice fake went to her backhand, just tucked it past her pad, and Black River got their first overtime win of the year. They had 2 losses and 2 ties prior to that. So yeah, just very exciting game, lots of opportunities. Chippewa could have easily won that game, but in the end, the Tigers came away with a 4-3 double overtime win.
All right, and then moving on to our boys' game of the week, Burglar took the trip down Highway 51 to Stevens Point, where the Spash Panthers hosted the Middleton Cardinals.
Full disclosure, he did not. Um, as I've aged, I like driving at night less, and I like driving at night through rain and slush and snow even less. And the stuff that was heading up Highway 51 in this other part of the state was not good on Tuesday. So I watched the game on the Live Barn, which actually does a pretty good job. You can actually watch the game pretty well from there. So I did see that, and from that, again, it was, yeah, I think the Spash Panthers, well, I'm not going to spoil anything that's upcoming, but we had them rated #1 last week, and they looked like it again. They are just, they're fast. They just swarm when they're on offense. The game, the first period, it's like the game was mostly played in the Middleton Cardinals end. And every once in a while, I'd look at, I'd see, oh, hey, they're actually spending some time in the Spash Panthers end. And I look, and well, it was because #7, Wyatt Earhart, was carrying the puck. And when he was on the ice, they could, spend some time in the Spash zone. Otherwise, it was all spent in the Middleton area. And I don't know if the Spash Panthers were guilty of clock watching, because they dominated the first and second period, but Middleton scored in the last minute of each period. I don't know if Steve, if you're to get think of what they're going to have as a snack between periods or what, but yeah, they did. They quite outshot them. 16-8 in the first period, and it was really the second period that told the story. Spash outshot Middleton 13-3 in that period, and they scored 4 goals in that period, and they came in pairs. Carson Summers and Grady Miller scored around the middle of the period, about, I think it was less than a minute apart, and then late in the period, down to about 3 or 4 minutes, Jace Deedy and Grant Molsky scored 15 seconds apart. That last one made it 5-1 at that point. And I said Wyatt Earhart did score for the Cardinals, with the few seconds left in that second period, but they could not mount anything in the third period. Spash had another goal. Yeah, Spash is for real. They swarm. I mean, we knew Middleton. I thought Middleton had a good chance against them coming in, but those guys, they're just fast, and they cycle and they swarm around the zone, and they're I haven't seen anybody yet. I haven't seen all that many teams, but they've just totally outclassed anybody they've played so far.
Well, thank you. From there, we will move on to our best Western Premier Park Hotel players of the week. Back with Burglar for that one.
Best Western Premier Park players of the week. On the boys' side, we have from Brookfield, a senior, Connor Hillig. On Friday, he had a goal and 4 assists in a 7-2 win over Notre Dame, a rematch of last year's state championship game with quite a different outcome. And on Saturday, he had 4 goals and 2 assists in an 8-6 win over Arrowhead. So Connor Hillig providing a lot of the offense that Brookfield needed on Friday and Saturday. On the girls' side, our Premier Park Hotel Player of the Week on the girls' side is a familiar name if you've been following us over the years. Reese Sheehan, a senior from Hayward. Like Bill said, she's finally a senior. Seems like she's been one of the leading scorers on Hayward for the last 6 years, but apparently not. On Tuesday, in a 9-0 win over Medford, she had 4 goals and 2 assists. She did not factor in the scoring in a 1-1 tie with Western Wisconsin. And then she had a goal in the 2-1 win over Moose Lake on Saturday. So Reese Sheehan and Connor Hillig are our Best Western Premier Park Hotel players of the week.
I was looking at the 7-2 Brookfield win over Notre Dame, and that got me thinking, when's the last time Notre Dame gave up 7 goals in a regular season game? So I started looking through their schedule on our wonderful site, and I had to go back to December 14th, 2017 to find a game where Notre Dame gave up 7 or more goals in a regular season game.
Who was that against?
It was a 9-3 loss to Spash in 2017, 7 years ago, since they've given up 7 goals in a game. That's crazy.
Oh, and I just wanted to mention one. I know we don't always do it, but I just want to throw out one nominee who did not get picked just because, even though we moved, I still have to mention Anago Hockey, during our podcast. It's kind of expected. But if you watched Anago the last year or this year, there were 2 guys that drive that team. Eli Kassler and Owen Dickman. And Dickman was injured playing football, so he did not start the first half dozen games of the season. And actually, Kassler did not play for 2 games for another reason. But when it was just Dickman without Kassler, they beat Medford 7-3. And Dickman had 6 of the goals and assisted on the other ones. So it's like, welcome back, Owen Dickman. I hope your leg's healed or whatever it was, upper body injury or lower body injury, whatever it was. But yeah, he's back. So once Kassler and him get going again, they only got like 12 guys on their team, but those 2 are really good.
All right, moving on to our top 6s, which are going to do a little different this week. I'll start with Division 2. Tomahawk is still number 1. McFarland moves up 1 spot to number 2. Regis Altoona McDonald moves up 1 spot to number 3. Baldwin Woodville moves up 1 spot to number 4. River Falls drops 3 spots to number 5. They had an overtime loss with Baldwin Woodville, and then I think 7-2 loss to Eau Claire Memorial. And Somerset comes in at the 6th spot. They were not rated last week. 11 Division 2 teams received votes this week. So we're 4 weeks into the season. How is Division 2 shaping up in your eyes?
I think the thing that jumps out to me, just I was looking through some scores and stuff today, just trying to get a little bit of feel. I haven't been following it that closely, but Tomahawk is very impressive to this point. I mean, they're 6-0, obviously, that's impressive. They beat Wisconsin Rapids and Marshfield, 2 Valley teams, which is also, I think, a little bit impressive. Their last 3 games, they've won by a combined score of 32-0. So yeah, they have they've been doing it very well. Dewey Riley, the coach for Tomahawk. I have a bit of an interesting story. When I was in Spooner coaching, we played Tomahawk and we lost the game 2-1 to them in their building. And I had a freshman defenseman who turned out to be first team All-State by the time he was a senior. But as a freshman, Dewey Riley walked him twice during the game, got in alone and scored for both their goals. We lost 2-1. And I'll never forget him very upset after the game on the bus. And I just told him, that's that's part of the deal, and you'll be better moving forward and all that. He did go on to be a first team All-Stater. But yeah, it's a pretty good story. Obviously, Riley, a hometown kid, and running the show for them now. So that the top three teams in D2 are all undefeated. So it's that's exciting.
Yeah, and Tomahawk returned the overwhelming majority of their team from last year, including Austin Lamer, who is one of the best handful of defensemen in the state. Um, they were not a unanimous number one, though. McFarland also got first place votes, sitting there undefeated.
And the Tomahawk in the Great Northern Conference, the last few years, the Great Northern Conference has pretty much been dominated by Mosinee and Lakeland. They would take turns. One of them would win the state tournament or the conference tournament, and the other one would win the sectional final game. Then Tomahawks noticed that they had a good group of kids coming up, and they really went out and strengthened their schedule. We saw them. I was kind of surprised to see them playing in a holiday tournament down in the Fox Valley against a bunch of D1 teams. I don't know if they won any of their games, but they were in them. They were all close games, and they went out and strengthened their schedule, to improve the team, and it's working for them.
Yeah, they have, I think, North and New Richmond on their schedule coming up before the first of the year yet. So they're going to play a couple more pretty tough opponents coming up.
And then the other one I mentioned was McFarland. McFarland is sitting at 5-0 in Division II right now. Wins against Homestead, Stoughton, Oregon, Sauk Prairie, and Milton. They've got Waunakee, Beaver Dam, Avalanche, and Reedsburg coming up. They don't have on their schedule a classically powerhouse team until they get to Madison Edgewood on January 11th. And then they've got Madison West on the 25th. But they've got, I think their schedule is a little softer, but they've done very well so far. Moving on to the girls. The Bay Area Ice Bears are a unanimous number one selection in the girls' side. The Central Wisconsin Storm, Hayward Hurricanes, Superior Spartans, and Lakeshore Lightning are 2, 3, 4, and 5, just like they were last week. And the St. Croix Valley Fusion, not ranked last week, come into the 6th spot. 12 girls teams received votes this week. But the top 5 did not change at all.
Yeah, I think based on, I haven't seen all of them play yet for sure. Bay Area really appears right now to be the team to beat, or the class of the girls right now. You dig into some of their stats a little bit. They have allowed 6 games. They've allowed a total of 54 shots on goal, which is an average of 9 a game. There hasn't been a period this year yet where they've allowed double-digit shots, and then 230 shots by them. They don't even have a player with more than 8 points, so their scoring has been really spread out. Their only loss was to Blake, Minnesota, and they outshot them in that game. They lost 2-1, and Blake is rated 8th in Class A in Minnesota right now. So they got beat by a pretty decent team, and still probably should have won that game based on the shots and everything. The Storm, I've seen them play. Obviously, they're very strong again. They've got a big week coming up ahead of them. 3 games: Cooley, CFM, and Eau Claire coming up this week before the Christmas break. Hayward, 5-1-1, has played their first 7 games at home, or excuse me, their first 7 games on the road. They'll have their first home game of the year Friday night. Superior comes to town. So that should be interesting. I think they might have the best goalie tandem in the state with Hutchison and Wibbler. But, both of them have save percentages over 96 and goals against under 1. So that's been the strength of their team. Superior, a little bit of I think an unknown still because they don't play as many Wisconsin opponents. Probably find a little bit more about them on Friday when they meet Hayward. They did lose their only losses to North Shore in Minnesota, and North Shore is 8-1-1 on the year, so they're obviously again pretty good team. Lakeshore, undefeated with one tie. They beat Fox Cities, but I don't know if they have a signature win beyond that. Diffusion, obviously, always in the conversation. I think Western Wisconsin's pretty interesting. They didn't appear in the poll, but they've been very competitive. They tied Hayward. So some interesting things there. Brookfield's another team. Arrowhead, both have really good records. Brookfield's got the top power play and penalty kill in the state, which is kind of unusual. So and then just for me, one last thing with the girls is I just want to shout out just the coaches who have been sending in their stats, cumulative stats for the history of girls hockey. And I think we've already found who is going to be the all-time leader, and she has Gretzky-like numbers. It's Teresa Knutson has 395 career points, and 286 of those are goals, which is more. She has more goals than anyone else has points. So the second one so far that's surfaced. I mean, there's a lot of teams that haven't responded yet.
I'm shocked.
Is Marky Ash with 249 points, but 286 goals in 4 years. That's kind of incredible.
Yeah, I think at the time when she was playing and we're doing it, there were some who referred to them as video game numbers.
Yeah. I
She
mean, they're
she
staggering.
averaged over 4 years 99 points a season.
Yeah, it's crazy. I said it's Gretzky like when you look at goals a game that she's how many games where she had so multiple number of goals, and yeah, just ridiculous stats. And she of course went on to play 4 years at UConn and had a decent career there, and then went over. She's still playing in Germany in the German league over there right now, and she had I think played it was like 22 games with the Metropolitan Riveters of the old PWHL. So I mean, she's still lacing them up.
Yeah, and she graduated in 2014. I've still not seen a girl shoot like she does. Her wrist shot was a completely different sport than every other girl I see taking a wrist shot since then.
Yeah, she could bring it for sure.
All right, then moving on to Division One. Spash is a unanimous number one. Shocking nobody. Brookfield moves up 2 spots to number 2. Hudson drops 1 spot to number 3. Nina Hortonville Menasha moves up 1 spot to number 4. Notre Dame Academy drops 3 spots to number 5, and Eau Claire Memorial is still 6th. Only 8 teams received votes for Division One this week. The next 2 out were the 2 of the 3 teams that moved up from D2 last year, to Richmond and St. Mary's Springs. So
Well,
6 teams, the same 6 teams as I've never seen the poll coalesce on 6 teams this fast.
Well, I can vouch for Spash. I've seen him twice now. I'm gonna have to see somebody else who's better before I'll believe it. But Brookfield last year, I mean, they were runner up. They lost the state championship game to Notre Dame, and they just, got that back. Well, it didn't mean as much, the rematch didn't quite have the same implication as the state championship does. But yeah, I think they can play with anybody. Interesting matchup tomorrow night, Hudson and Eau Claire Memorial.
Yeah, 3 of those teams will be in the same sectional coming out again at this point right now. Spash, Hudson, and Memorial. That's been since they went to 2 classes. That sectional's been just wickedly tough to come out of.
I was originally going to say that the top 4 teams represented 4 different sections, but that's a lie because Spash and Hudson are in the same section, and nobody in the Madison section is currently ranked. New Richmond, who I mentioned, was one of the 2 teams outside of the top 6 to receive votes. Their next on the schedule, their next games are River Falls, a ranked team in D2, Hudson, Nina Hortonville, Menasha, and Tomahawk. They've also got 2 games in there. Their game against Nina is at a holiday tournament, so we don't know who they're going to play yet. It'll depend on what happens against Nina, but like they're lined up with a very tough schedule.
Well, you mentioned nobody from the Madison area. Is in that there's nobody from the Madison area in the girls' top 6, and only McFarland in Division 2 is the only Madison area team to make any of the top 6s. That's highly unusual.
Well, I would like to point out that if you look at our analytics, the Madison area makes up a huge percentage of our traffic. So maybe we should try to bump up some of those teams when we're voting next week.
Oh, I think Edgewood looks really good, you know.
Edgewood and Middleton are fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Middleton, yeah. And the
Yes.
Metro Lynx, you know, get them up in there.
Yeah, Spash is in the driver's seat in D1 until they lose a game. I don't think there's any way somebody can justify putting one of the other teams ahead of them, no matter what else they do. And it's not like their schedule's getting much easier. Eau Claire Memorial, University School, Chippewa Falls, another game against University School. They got Wausau West again, Nina Hortonville, Menasha, Verona. I mean, they pack their schedule pretty well. All right, move on to our upcoming games of the week. Tuesday, Dan's going to be in Medford, seeing the Northland Pines Co-op take on Medford. Last time these 2 teams played, I believe it was a 4-3 overtime game.
Yeah, hopefully, looking forward to that being a good, interesting, competitive game. Hopefully, the weather's not too cold that night because, as we've already mentioned, Medford's a bitterly cold rink.
Yes, it is. And then on Saturday, Burglar will be going up to Tomahawk to see West Bend Co-op taking on Tomahawk.
Yeah, West Bend is making a road trip. They're playing Lakeland on Friday night and then Tomahawk on Saturday afternoon. And you know, I don't know how strong West Bend is this year, but you know, they are Division 1 teams, so it'll be good to see, you know, Tomahawk take on another bigger squad. See how they can do there. One thing I also want to mention, I would have wanted to make it our game of the week, but we just don't have anybody that can get to Middleton tomorrow night because they have the Super Noah game. It's the 7th annual Super Noah game, which is a game to raise money for childhood diseases. It's named for Noah Sanger, son of Jeff Sanger. And just before his 5th birthday, he had, you know, chemotherapy and stuff, and he's still going today, but battling childhood diseases, and they're raising money for that. Yeah, right there in the headline, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That's what the game is for. They have all kinds of events going on. They got raffle baskets, a 50-50 raffle, teddy bear toss, bake sale, silent auction. So if you're in the Madison area, you need something to do on tomorrow night. The JV game is at 5:45. The varsity game is at 7:45 at Bob Suter's Legacy 20 Ice Arena, formerly Cap Ice. It's in Middleton. Yeah, get there and help beat childhood cancers. Supernova game tomorrow night. Yeah, sorry we can't make it the game of the week. We just don't have anybody that can get there.
All right. Anything else you gentlemen would like to discuss tonight?
Um, I don't know. Do we need to mention anything about Tom Shafransky? He's in and then he's gone. I mean, I think we were all a little bit stunned by that. Nobody really saw that coming, I don't think. And I have not heard any backstory on it. Probably won't, but I thought that was a bit odd that they switched him over to hockey and then he's going to retire before the state tournament.
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that Tom would be retiring. I was even more surprised that nobody seems to have used our Facebook comment section to say horrible things about Tom. But maybe my moderation efforts over the last couple of years finally paid off, and you've all learned how to behave yourselves.
I
Well,
find that
like
hard to believe.
yeah, when you like him or not, I mean, he was always a decent person. I mean, I got along with him fine when we were just talking about anything else other than hockey, but in certain parts of getting down into hockey, I mean, it's just it was very emotional for a lot of the coaches stuff that they were trying to get pushed through and they believed in, and we just never could seem to, see eye to eye. But yeah, I mean, I think he was professional in the way he did his job, and I think everyone appreciates that, and probably a well-deserved retirement.
Hockey is just such a different beast for the WIAA and whatever, athletic director comes in and takes over for Tom, whether they hire somebody new or they shift responsibilities around. Just the entire development path for hockey from youth on up is not like any other sport that they have to deal with. It's a whole different thing. And um, there's been a lot of friction between the coaches and the WIAA over the years, and I've my interactions with Tom have always been fantastic, but there's been that friction between the coaches and the WIAA, and for most of my time following high school hockey in the state, Tom was that guy.
Yeah, he's been, what did I think it was 2002, 2003, somewhere in there when he took over from Dave Anderson. So yeah, it's been a long time. It'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do, who they're gonna shift, or how that's gonna work. I don't know if LeVar would get put back into that spot again. I kind of doubt
I
that, but
I
I don't
can't I
know.
cannot imagine them giving somebody both basketball and hockey. That's a busy, ridiculous couple of weeks that I can't imagine them doing.
Yeah, that's probably true. Well,
Well,
we will see.
the announcement that they had did say that there would be a job posting going up today, I believe it said. So they are going to try to fill that. I think they're going to try to fill that position before he retires.
So if you're an athletic director, I
And
don't
you
do
love
all
hockey.
do all their directors work out of Stevens Point or just the executive committee? I don't know, but if you're an athletic director who has an interest in commuting to or living in Stevens Point, where the WIA offices are, and you love hockey, apply for that job.
We could use a hockey voice there. That would be great.
Yeah, there was so much going on this week that I had forgotten about Tom until you mentioned it. I'm the one who posted that after the press release went out, and I had completely forgotten about it. All right. For Dan Bauer and Bill Berg, I am Bill Berg Jr. Wishing you all the best, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.